And we are back on the Zero Hour. I am Richard RJ Eskow, and we're broadcasting live Tuesday. And of course, you may be hearing this on a recording, but we are broadcasting live Tuesday on primary day from Manchester, New Hampshire. The New York Times reported today that the undeclared voters here in New Hampshire, where voters can cross party lines to cast their vote in the primary, the undeclared and undecided voters may decide much of the outcome today. And they use as an example Jolene Little of Rindge, New Hampshire. And Ms. Little was trying to decide, as of their reporting, was trying to decide whether to support Bernie Sanders or Jeb Bush. And we heard someone not too long ago talk about disaffected voters turning to Donald Trump. Now, how does that happen? Because these voters do exist, trust me. It's not just anecdotal. There are voters who are I've heard a number of voters say, I'd be for Sanders or Trump, for example. How does that happen when Bernie Sanders represents an overthrowing of the old political order and oligarchy, and someone like Donald Trump is an oligarch, is a billionaire, only has what he has because of inherited wealth, not merit, as much as he might think otherwise? How does it happen that somebody might, or Jeb Bush, who is the ultimate definition of inherited, unearned wealth and public profile, how does it happen that somebody might be leaning towards these folks and or Bernie Sanders? Well, I guess it has to do with the nature of the information people are given and the level of their disaffection. There are a lot of people out there who understand on an almost cellular level that they're being ripped off, that the game is rigged, that the system is not working for them. They understand it, and yet they are not clear on what it is that isn't working. So therein lies the opportunity and therein lies the danger. The opportunity is that when people are disaffected with politics as usual, when they're fed up with a system that does in fact tend to work exclusively for millionaires and billionaires, you can educate them. You can transform them. You can create a political movement demanding change, a political revolution, if you will. That's the good news. The bad news is that that is also the sunrise of opportunity for real despotism. Now, Jeb Bush I wouldn't describe as a despot. In fact, I find myself in the bizarre position of feeling as if he might be the least horrible possible outcome on the Republican side, unless you consider John Kasich. But then on the other hand, because they are relatively not insane, they also represent the greatest threat to the Democrats in 2016. In my opinion, especially if Hillary Clinton is the nominee, in which case we really are at risk for Supreme Court and a number of other things, executive actions, all the other things that are decided by the president. So there's a lot to worry about there. On the other hand, I'm terrified about what might happen if a Ted Cruz, for example, or a Donald Trump became president. And by the way, we did have a Ted Cruz surrogate scheduled to join us. They did not show up. Maybe, who knows why. But so I guess Ms. Jolene Little of Rindge, New Hampshire, is trying to decide between Bernie Sanders and Jeb Bush because she's frustrated. She knows the system isn't working. So I guess what that means is that it's not just up to Bernie Sanders. It's not just up to our political leaders. It's up to each and every one of us to stand up and to declare once and for all that to our neighbors and friends, to people like Jolene Little, that this is a moment in history when we do not want a Jeb Bush. We do not want a Donald Trump. We don't want a billionaire. We don't want a third-generation oligarch. We need substantial, real political change here in this country. Now, right now, the candidates are crisscrossing the state. Voters will be voting until early this evening. The question people are asking here is, first of all, can Hillary Clinton pull off an upset against Bernie Sanders today? And secondly, what will Bernie's margin of victory be? I would argue that she would not only have to pull off an upset, but a substantial one in order to dramatically change the outcome of this race. This is the state that restored Bill Clinton's candidacy in 1992, but it is a tougher climb for Hillary Clinton here today for a number of reasons, including the fact that this has become a two-person race. So, of course, we'll be following it closely in the hours to come. But I will tell you that everywhere you turn right now in New Hampshire, you run across another candidate for president, including quite a few that none of us, I guarantee you, have ever heard of. One of them came by recently, Reboot America. We also saw a Rocky 2016 sign. Maybe you guys know who that is. I don't know who it is. Might be Rocky Anderson, although I thought he was supporting Bernie. Might be Rocky Balboa, but I understand he's training younger fighters now. So I really don't know who Rocky is, but then we've also seen the usual. There's a Rubio for President event taking place down the hall here. There was a bull, what was that? Brad Herring, our executive producer, is with me. A bull for Bernie, or what? There's a large animal in an open green outside across the street from the hotel here. It looked like a bull or a bison or one of those large quadrupeds. Didn't seem like a nice thing to do to the bison, but so we have a lot of people crisscrossing the country. I'm not sure this is the optimal way to pick a president. I will tell you, I like the primary system. People have talked about going to a national primary where all the states vote on one day. I'm not for that, because if we get a national primary, it's going to be all about advertising dollars, not about retail politics. And if it's all about advertising dollars, then it's all about big money. And if it's all about big money, we can't take politics back for the people. So I can't say I'm for a national primary, but I'll tell you what I would be for. I'd be for a system where each state every year puts its name into a hat, and you pull states' names from the hat and you decide. So it's randomized, so it's changed every year. I don't think Iowa and New Hampshire should lead off, and I'll probably get mugged here in Manchester for saying it. I don't think that Iowa and New Hampshire should lead off the races. I think every year. I think it creates too much pressure on these small states to produce. And frankly, if I lived in New Hampshire, I'd be really annoyed every 4 years at the ever-present interference in daily life that these candidates represent. I got to tell you, from what I've seen, New Hampshire folks are not impressed by politicians, so it's certainly not thrilling them. I am Richard RJ Eskow, and we will be right back after this. This is the Zero Hour.